Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning we'll be in Joshua chapter 21, verse 1 through chapter 22, verse 20. The tribal leaders of the Levites went before Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun and the Israelite tribal leaders in Shiloh in the land of Canaan, and said, "The Lord told Moses to assign us cities in which to live, along with the grazing areas for our cattle." So the Israelites assigned these cities and their grazing areas to the Levites from their own holdings, as the Lord had instructed. The first lot belonged to the Kohathite clans. The Levites, who were descendants of Aaron the priest, were allotted 13 cities from the tribes of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin. The rest of Kohath's descendants were allotted 10 cities from the clans of the tribe of Ephraim, and from the tribe of Dan and the half-tribe of Manasseh. Gershon's descendants were allotted 13 cities from the clans of the tribe of Issachar, and from the tribes of Asher and Naphtali, and the half-tribe of Manasseh and Bashan. Merari's descendants by their clans were allotted 12 cities from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. So the Israelites assigned to the Levites by lot these cities and their grazing areas as the Lord had instructed Moses. They assigned from the tribes of Judah and Simeon the cities listed below. They were assigned to the Kohathite clans of the Levites, who were descendants of Aaron, for the first lot belonged to them. They assigned them Kiriath Arba. Arba was the father of Anak, that is Hebron, in the hill country of Judah, along with its surrounding grazing areas. Now the cities, fields, and surrounding towns they had assigned to Caleb son of Jephunneh as his property. So, to the descendants of Aaron the priest they assigned Hebron, a city of refuge for one who committed manslaughter, Libnah, Jatir, Eshtemoa, Holon, Deber, Ain, Juttah, and Beth Shemesh, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 9 cities taken from these 2 tribes. From the tribe of Benjamin they assigned Gibeon, Geba, Anatoth, and Almon, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 4 cities. The priests descended from Aaron received 13 cities and their grazing areas. The rest of the Kohathite clans of the Levites were allotted cities from the tribe of Ephraim. They assigned them Shechem, a city of refuge for one who committed manslaughter, in the hill country of Ephraim, Gezer, Kibzaim, and Beth-horon, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 4 cities. From the tribe of Dan they assigned Eltekeh, Gibbethon, Aijalon, and Gath-rimmon, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 4 cities. From the half-tribe of Manasseh they assigned Tanakh and Gath-rimmon, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 2 cities. The rest of the Kohathite clans received 10 cities and their grazing areas. They assigned to the Gershonite clans of the Levites the following cities: from the half-tribe of Manasseh, Golan and Bashan, a city of refuge for one who committed manslaughter, and Bishdarah, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 2 cities. From the tribe of Issachar, Kishon, Daberath, Jarmuth, and En-gannim, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 4 cities. From the tribe of Asher, Mishal, Abdon, Helkath, and Rehob, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 4 cities. From the tribe of Naphtali, Kadesh in Galilee, a city of refuge for one who committed manslaughter, Hamath-dor, and Kartan, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 3 cities. The Gershonite clans received 13 cities and their grazing areas. They assigned to the Merarite clans, the remaining Levites, the following cities: from the tribe of Zebulun, Jokneam, Karta, Dimnah, and Nahalal, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 4 cities. From the tribe of Reuben, Bezer, Jahaz, Kedemoth, and Mephath, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 4 cities. From the tribe of Gad, Ramoth, and Gilead, a city of refuge for one who committed manslaughter, Mahanaim, Heshbon, and Jazer, along with the grazing areas of each, a total of 4 cities. The Merarite clans, the remaining Levites, were allotted 12 cities. The Levites received within the land owned by the Israelites 48 cities in all, and their grazing areas. Each of these cities had grazing areas around it. They were alike in this regard. So the Lord gave Israel all the land he had solemnly promised to their ancestors, and they conquered it and lived in it. The Lord made them secure, in fulfillment of all he had solemnly promised their ancestors. None of their enemies could resist them. Not one of the Lord's faithful promises to the family of Israel was left unfulfilled. Everyone was realized. Then Joshua summoned the Reubenites, Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, and told them, "You have carried out all the instructions of Moses, the Lord's servant, and you have obeyed all I have told you. You have not abandoned your fellow Israelites this entire time, right up to this very day. You have completed the task given you by the Lord your God. Now the Lord your God has made your fellow Israelites secure, just as he promised them. So now you may turn around and go to your homes in your own land, which Moses, the Lord's servant, assigned to you east of the Jordan. But carefully obey the commands and instructions Moses, the Lord's servant, gave you. Love the Lord your God, follow all his instructions, obey his commands, be loyal to him, and serve him with all your heart and being." Joshua rewarded them and sent them on their way. They returned to their homes. Now to one half-tribe of Manasseh Moses had assigned land in Bashan, and to the other half Joshua had assigned land on the west side of the Jordan with their fellow Israelites. When Joshua sent them home, he rewarded them, saying, "Take home great wealth, a lot of cattle, silver, gold, bronze, iron, and a lot of clothing. Divide up the goods captured from your enemies within your borders." So the Reubenites, Gadites, and half-tribe of Manasseh left the Israelites in Shiloh, in the land of Canaan, and headed home to their own land in Gilead, which they acquired by the Lord's command through Moses. The Reubenites, Gadites, and half-tribe of Manasseh came to Geliloth near the Jordan, in the land of Canaan, and built there, near the Jordan, an impressive altar. The Israelites received this report. "Look, the Reubenites, Gadites, and half-tribe of Manasseh have built an altar at the entrance to the land of Canaan, at Geliloth, near the Jordan on the Israelite side." When the Israelites heard this, the entire Israelite community assembled at Shiloh to launch an attack against them. The Israelites sent Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the priest, to the land of Gilead, to the Reubenites, Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. He was accompanied by 10 leaders, one from each of the Israelite tribes, each one a family leader among the Israelite clans. They went to the land of Gilead, to the Reubenites, Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, and said to them, "The entire community of the Lord says, 'Why have you disobeyed the God of Israel by turning back today from following the Lord? You built an altar for yourselves and have rebelled today against the Lord. The sin we committed at Peor was bad enough. To this very day we have not purified ourselves. It even brought a plague on the community of the Lord. Now today you dare to turn back from following the Lord? You are rebelling today against the Lord. Tomorrow he may break out in anger against the entire community of Israel. But if your own land is impure, cross over to the Lord's own land, where the Lord himself lives, and settle down among us. But don't rebel against the Lord or us by building for yourselves an altar aside from the altar of the Lord our God.' When Achan, son of Zerah, disobeyed the command about the city's riches, the entire Israelite community was judged. Though only one man had sinned, he most certainly died for his sin." Yeah, so you have here in Joshua 21 the 48 cities that were assigned to the Levites as their possession, because they weren't given like a large section of land out of all of Israel to live in, but instead were given individual cities sprinkled throughout the entire land in which to live in, which many of these places also were designated as cities of refuge, where one could escape from the avenger of blood if one slew someone unintentionally. One of the questions I have concerning this is, how much control did the Levites get of these cities, especially since Hebron was one of the cities that the Levites were given, which that was one of the land, that was the city that I believe Caleb had conquered. So did he just cede control of it and give it to the Levites? I imagine it wasn't a strictly Like we're no, okay, I guess you're living here now type thing, but more that they were given land and places to live within these cities. And then you have, after that, the tribes that had previously come over to help Israel conquer the area east of the Jordan. That is the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, who had previously, when Moses was still alive, desired the land west of the Jordan for grazing their cattle and for living there. They were allowed to have that land, but only on the condition, essentially, that they would cross over the Jordan and help their brothers in the fight against the Canaanites. And having done this duty, Joshua then dismisses them to their homes. But then you have the building of an altar by the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh near the Jordan. And the other Israelites see this and think to themselves essentially that what is an altar but a place of worship? So now the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh have built another place of worship. They're committing the same sin that was done in at Baal of Peor, which they mention there, where you have the Israelites going after the Moabites and worshiping their gods, and in very visceral language, prostituting themselves with Moab's gods. That is, serving gods other than Yahweh. And so you have a great plague that had broken out as part of that. And then they also mention Achan, son of Zerah, who disobeyed the command regarding the ban of things taken from Jericho and secreted away clothes and valuables from Jericho in his own tent. And because of his sin, the whole of the community was punished. That is, when they tried to besiege Ai, they could not win against him. And it was only after they purged that sin from their midst that they could stand before their enemies. So yeah, they come against the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh with all of that in mind. And spoiler alert, they didn't have in mind prostituting to another god. So was a misunderstanding of sorts. Let's see here. What's Guzik got to say? So the Levites approached Joshua and said, "The Lord commanded through Moses to give us cities to dwell in." The Levites received no province of land, such as the other tribes did. However, they had to live somewhere, so each tribe gave certain cities and common lands to the tribe of Levi. So the children of Israel gave to the Levites from their inheritance. The tribe of Levi had no province of land because God had declared that he would be their inheritance. Yeah, they were to be sustained from the sacrificial system. That is, whenever Israel would come and offer sacrifices to the Lord, certain of the sacrifices were to be burnt entirely, but other sacrifices were to be taken and shared within the Levite community and also to the community at large. And the feast days. Now the lot came out. The striking thing about this list is that God wanted the Levites sprinkled through the land of Israel. He never intended there to be one state of Levi, but every tribe was to have the priestly influence and presence among them. In the same manner, Christians, being priests, are to be sprinkled throughout the whole world and society, instead of heading off to make a Christian country somewhere. So the Lord gave to Israel all the land. All the tribes had their land. They must go into every corner of what God has given and take full possession, but God had provided everything necessary for them to do so. Then the Lord gave them rest all around. This is the point where Israel stopped commemorating the Passover as if equipped to travel, as described in Exodus 12:11. Now they will eat the Passover reclining at rest, as described in John 13:23, because the Lord had given them rest in the land. Interesting. Yeah, originally they were to eat the Passover with staff in hand and fully clothed and ready for travel. But now God had given them rest. And Joshua, whose name means Yahweh's salvation, whose name corresponds with Jesus, had led them into this rest. Not a word failed of any good thing which the Lord had spoken. God was completely faithful in regard to the land, but Israel was not. Any failure to fully possess was not because God had not made adequate provision, but because Israel had failed to fully follow the Lord. And all came to pass. God has been completely faithful to you and made provision for continual victory. He's given you great things, but what do you possess? In the light of the cross, is it not true that the enemy has no right to dwell in the land? Is it not true that Satan's claim to your life was taken from him at Calvary? Is it not true that sin has no right to a foothold in the life of the child of God? Is it not true that Satan has no power in the presence of omnipotence? Is it not true that by virtue of his blood and his resurrection, Jesus Christ is pledged to destroy the enemy utterly? Is it not true that in the indwelling power of the Holy Spirit, there is strength for every temptation, grace for every trial, power to overcome every difficulty? From Alan Redpath. Regarding the Reubenites, Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, you have kept all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you. In the 7 years they had been with Joshua, helping the tribes west of the Jordan to conquer their enemies, they had been completely obedient and helpful to Joshua. You have not left your brethren these many days. They had gone out and fought on behalf of their brethren, even though they already had their own inheritance, even as God commanded them to do. Now therefore return and go to your tents and to the land of your possession. Now that the land was conquered and fully distributed to the tribes, they could go back to their families and lands on the eastern side of the Jordan. But take careful heed to do the commandment. He tells them to take careful heed to the word of God, probably here mostly in the sense of diligently hearing and knowing it. To love the Lord your God. He tells them to love the Lord. This is a matter of the heart, but it can still be commanded. To walk in all his ways, to keep his commandments. He tells them to obey God with all they have, to keep his commandments, to hold fast to him in a personal sense, and to serve him with all their heart and soul. We should not miss the order here. First, we should take care to heed God, then we give him our love. Next comes a walk of obedience. To mix this order up is to drift into heresy, loving without hearing, or legalism, obeying before loving. Yeah, zeal without knowledge should be avoided, and legalism of obeying without loving is, I would say, the sin of the Pharisees. So Joshua blessed them and sent them away. Joshua would not send them away without a blessing. He knew that they could not do or be what God wanted them to be without his blessing among them. Perhaps he used the blessing from Numbers 6:23 through 27. Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, This is the way you shall bless the children of Israel. Say to them, The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. So they shall put my name on the children of Israel, and I will bless them. So they departed with much spoil. Their obedience to God and faithfulness to their brethren has been rewarded. God has allowed them to gain much plunder that they can take back home with them. We believe that when we obey God, we will be gainers, not losers, perhaps not always in the obvious material sense, but in real, wonderful gains nonetheless. So the children of Reuben, the children of Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh returned, and departed from the children of Israel at Shiloh. We might imagine that this was a somewhat emotional departure of brothers who had known the closeness of fighting side by side. These were true veterans of the army of Israel. And then they make an impressive altar. Before crossing over the Jordan, the soldiers from the 2.5 tribes built a great impressive altar near the Jordan River. This was significant not only because of its size, but because of the meaning of an altar. An altar was a place of sacrifice, and both the Israelites and pagans had altars they used for sacrifice. When the news came to the rest of Israel, there was no discussion. There was a simple reaction. They gathered to make war against their own brothers who built this altar. Notice that Joshua did not need to gather them. They gathered of their own accord. It was an automatic reaction. They gathered together at Shiloh. Why did they do this? Because they feared that this altar was a sign of allegiance to the pagan gods of the region. To go to war against them, their readiness to fight this battle shows great courage to confront on behalf of God's truth and holiness. This was a healthy body, able to purge itself of poisons. Their latter actions show that they were not happy about taking this action, nor would they do it rashly, but they did it. Then the children of Israel sent Phinehas, the son of Eleazar the priest. Phinehas led the group because he had the authority. He was the high priest over the whole nation, including the 2.5 tribes on the east side of the Jordan. He not only had the authority, he also had the heart of a wise shepherd. He wanted to correct the erring, to protect the nation, and to drive out the dangerous. And they spoke with them. Israel reacted according to God's character. Their assembling for war demonstrated God's holiness, but their personal confrontation demonstrated God's love. And they said, What treachery is this? Clearly, they thought the altar at the Jordan represented a rival place of sacrifice and worship to compete with God's tabernacle, presently at Shiloh. God had clearly commanded that there was one place of sacrifice and burnt offerings for Israel. Also, you shall say to them, Whatever man of the house of Israel, or of the strangers who dwell among you, who offers a burnt offering or sacrifice, and does not bring it to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, to offer it to the Lord, that man shall be cut off from among his people. From Leviticus 17:8 and 9. We understand from this that we cannot worship God any way we please, or justify a manner of worship just because we feel like it. First and always, our worship must be pleasing to God. We must worship Him in spirit and in truth. Yeah. And this makes sense to me in that contrary to popular opinion, all religions are not right. Shocker. There is a God in heaven, and He is a personal God. He has expressed that He wants things a certain way. And so, if we are to please God in our worship of Him, then we can't just think up ways to worship Him. We have to listen to what He desires and do that. So. Is the iniquity of Peor not enough for us? Phinehas reminded the eastern tribes that Israel had been punished for rebellion against God before, using the rebellion at Peor as an example. At Peor, Israel's men had sex with Moabite women, and they gave themselves over to the worship of the Moabite gods. In judgment, God sent a plague that killed 24,000 people. This incident would be especially meaningful to Phinehas, because he was the one who stopped the plague by making a dramatic stand for righteousness on an occasion of gross sin. He will be angry with the whole congregation. Phinehas also knew that the sin of these tribes would reflect on the whole nation. He knew that no one really sins all by himself. Take possession among us. To Phinehas, anything was better than seeing these tribes drift away in rebellion against God. If there was something unclean in their land, he invited them to come and live with the tribes on the western side of the Jordan. Only do not rebel against the Lord, nor rebel against us by building yourselves an altar. This was an invitation made at great cost. It would have meant a smaller area of land for the western tribes, but it didn't matter because they were willing to sacrifice to see their brothers free from the sin. Too many of us lack this willingness. We tell the people to stop sinning, but are not willing to help them if it costs us something. Yeah. Anywho, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.